with Danny Horanyi. This is a very special guest. Danny is somebody that I've come to develop a really close relationship with. I didn't know Danny up until really about a year and a half ago. Danny's a former $300 million per year producer. Was on one of the top origination teams in the entire country. He most recently ran 9QM lending, was the head of 9QM lending at Caliber Home Loans, and is now the head of retail innovation at Caliber. And definitely one of close friend and somebody I respect very dearly, and I think is going to bring a lot of value today to our community. So, Danny, say
awesome.
hello.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Anthony. It's always a pleasure to have a conversation with you, man. And the feeling is mutual. Huge amount of respect for you as well, my friend.
Unfortunately, our members have not gotten to know you yet, and you're somebody that whenever I am thinking through situations and want somebody's opinion on a presentation or how I'm positioning something or how I'm talking about something, you're the go-to person I always call. I actually called you yesterday about something just similar, but things are you're seeing what's going on in the market. Our Facebook broker community, we got 5,000 brokers in this Facebook group. Everybody has been, we've gone through what's going on with rates. We've gone through, we've had Barry Habib on today, earlier this week.
Oh, nice.
That's all been documented. He did a killer job. I want to talk a little bit about, mindset right now, because it's easy to get dragged in the gutter. The news is what it is. All over Facebook, all you're seeing is, the news and all the negative stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know how you think. How would you, tell a loan originator or a broker or even a real estate agent for that matter, how to prioritize and organize their time in a way so that they can be productive? I know even you're working from home is going to be new for you.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's definitely the case. And, I think just like anything, Anthony, the fundamentals apply, right? If you don't know what to do, go back to the fundamentals. And what do I mean by that from when it comes to time management? There's a couple things that I think are the fundamentals of time management. One is focus on the things you can actually control. Focus on the work that's actually going to produce value for you and that you can meaningfully impact, right? And then in the best in class sessions that we had held together, Anthony, one of the other things I talked about was energy management versus time management.
Yep.
There's a handful of people, I would say under 10 that I've ever met in my life that truly don't have enough time for all the things that they want to do. You're actually one of those people that might be in that category, Anthony, where you really maximize your time truly. But most people are not truly maximizing their time because they run out of energy. And they run out of energy because they pick the wrong things to work on. They pick the things that drain them to work on. And this couldn't be a more important message right now. Because if you're seeking out negativity, and I'm not saying you shouldn't be informed, right? It is extremely valuable to stay informed, especially in a circumstance where, you're protecting yourself, your family, and your community. Absolutely mission critical to do that. But there's a point where information adds value to your life and a point where it stops adding value and it starts sucking energy away from you. So educate yourself to a point where you've gotten as much value as you need, and then get back to work on the things that actually matter to your life, your business, and your family.
Honestly, that I don't think you could put it in any better perspective, and I don't know why I haven't put that in perspective to our Facebook group, because I'm seeing the same exact threads every day. We have I think we have about 4,000 unique interactions in our group every day, and I'm seeing people talk about price. I'm seeing people talk about volatility, lenders, turn times, all the doom and gloom stuff that you can imagine. And, I've gotten to the point where I just, I won't approve a lot of these posts because it's like it's the same stuff over and over again. And what you just said there really makes a lot of sense. It's like, if you put your energy into negative things, if you put your energy into things that drain you, A, you're going to get drained faster. B, you're not going to be productive. And C, at the end of the day, it's very hard to build momentum when you're in a situation where you're constantly pivoting back to this negative energy force.
Absolutely.
From your perspective, as somebody that is not originating today, and obviously I'm not originating today either, but you are somebody that I personally have learned this, and I didn't know you a couple of years ago, but I've learned you're one of the most respected loan originators in the country. Like by far and away, everybody knows who you are. That's at that top 100 originators in the country. What do you think, right now today, when you look at, loan originators in this market, when you look at the guys that are successful, that are doing the right things, and forget teams, what is the one man successful originator look like today as far as just efficiency, staying in front of his customers, capitalizing on a refi market, being organized? What does that guy look like? What does that guy or girl look like?
So, I mean, that's a really interesting question, Anthony, because if I'm hugely biased in this. So, if you say, even that individual producer, and if I have to discount teams, there's a little bit of nuance there, right? Because if you're talking about discounting teams of originators that are kind of jointly originating business, I get that, but I still believe that, a highly productive originator has found a way to systematize their business and leverage their time using assistance or using the resources of their organization or the resources that they've developed for themselves. Now, if we want to say, let's zoom this down to one person, there's even still ways that an individual can leverage their expertise and be sure they're using their, I talked about in the best in class, sessions that we had, the unscalable work versus the scalable work, right? Like a top producer, like I'll say, if you don't have a CRM, managing some of your scalable activities and just being there on your behalf as your memory bank of what you need to be doing to be successful, that would be a number one thing I would say. Go out and find yourself a CRM that you can get committed to, because that's almost like hiring an assistant without having to go out and find a person that can actually tolerate you, right? Which is probably the hardest part of hiring people when you're a top producer. So I would say, again, it's really about, go back to the fundamentals, right? What does it take to be a successful originator? It takes expertise. It takes a commitment to the craft. It takes building relationships. It takes great communication skills. And the people that are winning right now have developed those skills to an extent that allows them to get out and be productive, but they're constantly refining those skills every single day in order to be more and more effective.
And I guess here's another one for you is, motivation, I think is, and I don't say motivation from like, hey, I just watched a speech and I'm motivated. More or less day to day, the reason why you're doing it, like sometimes I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'll have like a 15-second moment where I'm like, why am I going to work today? Like, what is going on? I'm not getting a paycheck. Like, what's going on? But there's something inside of me that wants to do what I'm doing. For an originator, I think it's very much the same. It's the money is the end result. But I do think if your objective is serving, consumers, realtors, whatever you sort of enjoy as a part of the process, you have to have that. And that's one of the things I see get lost in these refinance surges is like people like just want to get as many in as possible. And they just want to, they want to streamline everything. And I think the one thing that gets lost in that is, yes, you want to be systematized. You want to, have a process that's smooth and as touchless as possible. But at the end of the day, our value, and we've talked about this a lot, is we're the anti-Quicken. We're the anti-Rocket Mortgage. We are the local loan originator. We have relationships. And you've talked a lot about this whole mindset of everybody on my team when I was a loan originator. If you ask them what the position is, they're a lead gen specialist. So talk to me a little bit about that, because it's something that since you said it has changed my mindset. And I think it would be really valuable to our community.
Well, actually, you segued into this really well, because you've really touched a lot of the aspects of this, Anthony. So if you think about what everybody's role on your team is, right? Or even if you're an individual producer, you still have people that are supporting you, right? You have your processor, you have the setup person, maybe whoever's issuing disclosures if it's not you. Even the notary and appraiser that you associate with in your business can be a representation of you. So every aspect of the manufacturing process of a loan, right? The nuts and bolts kind of process, they have a specific function, but why and how they do that job can determine whether or not you have an exponentially successful business or you have a business that just skips along. So part of this, though, also, because it goes back to your original framing of this, Anthony, which is having a motivation outside of the money. right? Having a mission and a purpose of service. Maybe that is what it is for you, or maybe it's something different, but it goes beyond just the financial aspect and the transactional aspect. And what that does or allows you to do is share with those people that are like, let's say you have a commitment to serving the families that ask you for advice and to grow community. Well, when you're speaking with your processor, right, and it's 4:59, right, and they're about ready to clock out, and you need them to do one more task in order to get the contingency removal out on time or the close date hit, right? If they're only there for the money, right, 4:59, they're not going to be inspired, right, to be a that next extension of your customer service, right? But if they're anchored into helping families and building the community, and they know why they're there and the piece of the puzzle that they serve in the whole process of that family's journey, right? Maybe they're going to stick around and do that job, right? And that's what I mean by creating a lead gen mindset inside of your team, is for people to know that the only reason you're getting leads is because somebody trusts you or thinks they trust you, right? And the best way to build trust is consistently deliver value. And you have all of these pillars of your process that include other people, right? If you have a team, there's a lot of people. If you're just an individual, you still have service providers that you rely on. And every time there's an interaction, if that's not reinforcing the trust that was placed in you, then you're not going to be able to continue to generate the leads you need for an exponential business.
That's well said, and I want to talk to you about that one thing that you just said about creating value. I've never seen a time in my career as a mortgage person. And again, I haven't been on social media forever, so I guess I see it more now than ever before. But what value has the perception of that for a lot of loan officers has hit a very low place. And when I say that, it's understanding, hey, we sell a commodity. Anything that we sell, anybody else that's licensed to sell mortgages can sell in this country, it's commoditized. And our service at the end of the day, yes, you can close 10 days with this lender, 14 with that lender. At the end of the day, it's relatively the same. If you're a good loan officer, you're pretty much, it's going to be a level playing field. But at the end of the day, creating value to both, your consumers and your real estate agents. And I just kind of look at it as everybody in your ecosystem. It's not like the lead gen mindset is saying everybody's a referral source. The person at the Wawa is a referral source.
Mm-hmm.
The guy I buy my coffee from is a referral source. Everybody's a referral source, but you got to provide value to these people. And what I try to explain to my community is to understand, like, I wake up and we talk about it here at AIME, is like we have to create content and things that are valuable to our members. Now, how do we know what's valuable to them? We observe their pain points, and we become laser focused on the things that they're upset about, that they're stressed out about, that are causing any type of disruption or dissatisfaction in their life. And then we focus on creating content around that or creating value around that. And I think people are non-sympathetic to understanding when you have a referral partner, or you have somebody like you just mentioned, it could be an employee, because that's part of your lead gen, is if in order for them to have buy-in, you have to provide value to them as an employee as well, and a referral source. And if you're not, then they're not going to stay past 5. Then they're not going to send you that extra loan. Then they are going to give 3 business cards out when they give out the business cards. And I think that's an important thing that you've impressed upon me, is creating value and being laser focused and understanding that it has to be real value. It can't just be transactional value. So
here's one tip for you, Anthony, along those lines. So my team and I would send out thank you notes to escrow officers, right? Thanking them for helping, in the process. We would send thank you notes to the closers, the funders, in the transaction, or the closing agent and our internal funders. If you think about the life that those people lead, right? They're the last stop on the train, right? And guess what? Every time you sat on a file for 3-4 days before submitting it and pressured the processor, and then they were behind, and it all ends. The final word comes from the last stop on the train, right? The funders and the escrow officers. And so, just showing appreciation sometimes can be all the value you need to add, because that's the pain point, right? They're constantly under stress. And what we found is we started getting referrals from escrow officers, right? When a deal was going sideways, instead of letting it fall apart, they would say, oh no, we got to call because they have products and they always get the job done, and they're nice to us, right? They're not gonna kill us. So it's literally anybody in the process can become a critical piece of the puzzle for your business.
It's so funny you said that, because we did a Facebook Live last Wednesday with Todd Bitter. Todd, I don't know if you know Todd, but Todd he's like one of the top LO originators in the broker channel. And
nice.
He's a one-man band. He doesn't have a processor. Actually, he just recently hired his first loan officer, but he does $80 million in production a year. He processes all of his own loans. He does it all: origination, process, full referral, all purchase business. I mean, the guy's a machine. And he's probably one of the most respected people in our channel, just because everybody knows the volume he's been doing for so many years, and he's a great guy and a great human. But that exact tip you just gave about the escrow officer, he said his number one connection point to realtors was the title people, because the title people were the ones telling the realtors when deals blew up, hey, you got to call Todd. His deals never blow up. His packages are always done right. So it's interesting how like that applicability is the same for two top producers.
That's great.
What we talk about being the expert, and we've spent a lot of time on this. Is when you were running non-QM, we spent some time talking about being the expert. Now that's a bad subject right now, because some non-QM lenders have recently had some issues because of the liquidity crunch in our space. But being an expert and not being just an app taker, not being a quoter. Here's your rate, and here's your app. Being the expert, what are your thoughts on little things, blocking and tackling, that loan originators can't forget to do as a part of being that expert?
So, I mean, the first thing is to understand what that actually means, right? And it means, not being an order taker means that you have insight to provide to that client that is not obvious to them, right? They're coming to you as an expert because you can actually share with them a perspective that they couldn't develop on their own with 45 minutes on Google search, right? So I believe I shared this in the Best in Class, but there's a hierarchy of information, right? So information is the least valuable thing, because information can be true or false, and at some point, like I indicated earlier, right, information has diminishing returns on value. You get more information, it provides no additional value to your life, right?
Yep,
Then
yep.
The higher level of information, what provides more value is insight, right? Being able to distill all the information down and say, Anthony, of all the information in the world, this is the information that's important to you, right? And I'm an expert, so I can actually share with you the relevant information. You don't have to go search the entire spectrum of everything to know. I know it already, here it is. But there's one level above that, and that's advice. And what advice takes is being able to produce insight, but also being able to collect need, right? Collect pain points, collect information about the situation that you're trying to solve, right? Like you're a doctor diagnosing a case, right? You have to have the insight and then the advice to give a prescription. And that takes courage, right? Because you're telling somebody what to do, and you're telling somebody what to do that might impact their life to the tunes of, thousands to tens of thousands of dollars. So you better know what you're doing if you're going to give somebody advice, right? But if you can't get to a place where you're that advisor, then I can pretty much guarantee you that some AI bot somewhere is going to be able to do all the order taking that you're doing today.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because one of the things I do kind of cringe at sometimes is I'll have a conversation with a loan originator, and for me, the way I used to look at my customers as a loan originator and running my brokerage is the way I now look at my brokers. Is like I look at their experience, the resolution process of their problems. Anything that I'm involved in that they come to me for has to be handled. My arms need to be wrapped around it. I need to deliver an unbelievable experience for them. And I think right now there is like this assumption that I see, like after the Fed made the rate cut on Sunday, I see every loan originator in the country rushing to social media to say, no, rates aren't zero. Rates are this. Before you even ask me, you're an idiot. No. This is an opportunity. You're the expert. They don't know. The Fed, of course, they're going to ask you. Why wouldn't they ask you? The Fed just made a decision. You're the mortgage expert. Who are they supposed to go to? The guy at the dry cleaner? Like, they're coming to you for a reason, but it's a great opportunity. It's an opportunity to demonstrate your expertise. But if you just put it out there in a graphic, if you put it out there in a social media post, you're outsourcing expertise. And the question I would have for you is, can you outsource expertise in something like that, a social media post, a quick email, or is that the best opportunity for you to show your expertise and have a phone call and communicate with the consumer?
So I think that there's a balancing act here, Anthony, where you need to leverage there's a purpose, right, for social media posting, and the purpose is not to communicate your value in the way that you're described, like the way that I would say a phone call would establish. However, there is value in building trust within your community and demonstrating the tip of the iceberg of what you have to offer. But every posting should just be an invitation, right? There should be some sort of a call to action. If you give them everything out there, why do they need to call you, right? So I think that's kind of what your implication of the question is, and I totally agree with that. That if you just put everything that you have out. Now, I also kind of come at this from an abundance mindset that you can literally share everything you have to know, and people will still need you if you're truly an expert. However, I think that there's a right way to use the tools, the marketing tools we have, including social media, to hint at your value and attract people to you for that next level that really is where you can get the hooks in.
So I know you have to leave shortly, so I'm gonna give one more question. Right now, we're set for some unprecedented disruption in our lives, in the market, in the economy, in many different things. Realistically speaking, we went through this with the financial crisis, and we went through this with 9/11. What is your recommendation as somebody that went through major crises before on keeping things in perspective?
So, I mean, this is a great tie-in to the very first thing that we talked about here, Anthony, which is just, control what you can control. There was a lot of fallout from the financial crisis, right? There was a lot. I mean, I can even look back at my own experience in 2008, when I had clients who had signed loan documents, but before they could fund, the bank was out of business, right? I don't think, hopefully, knock on wood, right, that we're not going to be in the same situation where it gets that dire. However, there was real consequence there, is what I'm saying, and there's going to be real consequence today. However, the people that focused in and did what it take to continue to drive value, that kept their head down, they didn't let the frantic nature of the panic take hold and siphon away their energy, right? That's going to be the biggest thing right now. And think about this too, Anthony, right? When everything out there is negative, right? If you're a realistic optimist, think about how attractive that is, right? If you can bring realism, right? You're not going to be Pollyannish about it because the consequences are real. But if you can bring real optimism, right? That could be the greatest value that you can provide to your community, your referral partners. If you have teams, if you have colleagues, bringing that message of, guys, we have people that we need to help. Let's do the next thing we have to do. Oh, the appraiser's not going to be able to get out to the house because they don't want them there. Okay, what's the alternative? How can we figure out how to make sure that we can make the best of the situation so that this family can still be helped? And just keeping that, it's never like the long-term consequences. And I'm a little bit biased in this because the image that I have in my mind is the moment in like 2010 when I saw the value of my house from 2006 and went like, oh my gosh, like this, the thing's depreciated by 40%. If I had freaked out then and sold my house and panicked, right, instead of just waiting until 2016, when the value was back up to where I originally purchased it and more, right? There's so much uncertainty right now. It's not just the mortgage market, right? The stock market's down every day, 3-4% swings, virus concerns, all this other stuff. There's things that are within your sphere of control, especially as it relates to your business, that you can focus on right now. You knock those things out, I guarantee you're going to feel better. Your clients are going to appreciate it, and the people around you will be happier.
I can't agree with you more, and I think anybody that didn't see this live, I strongly recommend watching it later. And I would tell you, anybody that's on the Facebook Live, do me a favor, tag 3 people that you think would benefit from this conversation in this group. Tag 3 people, because I believe there's a massive amount of value. And I know you guys know somebody in the group that needs this message more than anything right now. So go ahead and do that. Danny, we appreciate you. Thank you very much for taking the time this afternoon to spend with us, and you have an amazing rest of the day. Bye.